Yo.
Right, it's your boy Paranoid, the Civilians Military, Ghost of Republic Radio. I'm sitting here with Marc Stevens today. How you doing, Marc?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for doing this interview with me, man. If I could just real quick, I've heard you say over and over again that you don't believe that there is a state, or you don't believe that there are such thing as citizens, and this is something that goes against a lot of the patriot movement's ideologically, whatever, their ideology.
Their ideology.
Yeah. Would you like to explain that real quick?
No. This is something that, through experience, it's not just an academic effort. This is something that I've done through experience. So the easiest way to show is that the state is not geographic, it's political. Like the state of Utah, so-called, didn't exist prior to 1896. I think it was Arizona before 1912. It's political. It's a body politic. And talk about it being a body politic and a body corporate. You know, a corporate or a corporation is just a figment of the imagination. I mean, that's legally, it's a figment of the imagination. And Aldridge versus Utah State Tax Commission said that. Anyway, we know that it's a body politic. And as citizens, a member of the body politic owing a duty of allegiance in return for duty of protection, and that these are, they call them reciprocal obligations, one consideration for the other. And Lauria versus the United States is one of the court cases that say that, U.S. Supreme Court, so it's the law. We know that government has told us openly and notoriously, I think that's the phrase, that there's no duty to protect anybody. And we know that economically, the fact that if I was to threaten you to protect you, that wouldn't create any kind of duty. So because taxation support for government was always compulsory, no duty to protect you could arise anyway. So if the citizen is just a member of the body politic owing a duty of allegiance in return for the duty of protection, and there is no duty to protect you, well then there's no duty of allegiance due.
All right.
Okay, so that tears apart the presumption that there is a relationship.
Uh-oh.
Boy, that's good. I didn't do it.
Hold on one second. We got a fire alarm going. All right. We're going to continue now. Okay. Marc, if you could, I know that you do a lot of stuff in the court with traffic tickets and IRS stuff and other things like that. And I've seen some of your videos and I've listened to some of your audios about how you basically question the legitimacy of what's going on and basically back them into a corner where they have no choice but to dismiss. What are some of the questions that you might ask in your own personal exploits that have yielded those results for you?
Well, I was just talking to someone about that. You know, when we just did Ernie's show with Jet. Very easy way to go about it is you want to know the process. Don't try to get them to violate the law or contradict the law, because no one's going to believe you anyway. As much as I hate the IRS, they're not going to believe you or me. They're going to take the IRS. So I get them in their own words to tell me what the process is. And so this tax agent with the Franchise Tax Board in California, I get stuck. I work with them all the time, and I have him first tell me that he has the authority to throw an assessment out. That's very important. Don't waste your time really talking to somebody who can't get the assessment thrown out. Go to someone who can. So once you know that he can't come back later and say, well, you said. Then you want to know what the process is. What are the grounds to get an assessment thrown out? Just ask him point blank. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court said. Get what he said. So he tells me, if we believe, we're convinced that there's no evidence, we'll vacate the assessment. Okay. So then some of the questions will be, do you have any witnesses with personal first-hand knowledge? I'm a taxpayer, or I have taxable income. And he doesn't want to answer the question. So he's basically yelling at me at this point. It's only a couple minutes later. We don't need evidence. So now you've got him contradicting himself. He said that if they were convinced there was no evidence, that they would vacate. And he had the authority to do it. Now he's telling me a couple minutes later, we don't need evidence. Well, which one is it? So to me, that's a very simple way and a very effective way of going about showing, and you don't have to go, oh, you violated the law, or the Supreme Court says did. It doesn't matter. You said, you know, the agent himself is now contradicting himself. that is a lot more effective, it's a lot more powerful, and a little bit more inclined to just let it go. Things like that, they usually pull the rug up and they
sweep it
and we
under.
don't hear. Yeah, we typically, it would be nice to get it in writing where they said, oh, there's no evidence, we're going to let you go. It doesn't always work out that way. I would say 90% of the time you just don't hear back from them. They drop the, like in these cases recently, you don't get the follow-up form letter. You don't get the notice of proposed assessment. You get the initial, where is your tax return? And then on your appointed day when you're supposed to get the notice of assessment, of the proposed assessment, it never comes. So we are stopping the computer process, which is key. And that's a very effective way of doing it.
All right, and earlier me and you were speaking about how in Arizona they've actually stopped utilizing the speed camera tickets. You want to explain what led to that?
What led to that was mass civil disobedience. People just weren't paying attention. People were not, you know, they have to personally serve you under their rules. And just sending you something in the mail, whether it's certified, doesn't matter, doesn't satisfy service. So what they would do is they would threaten people, oh, if you don't waive service, then we're going to check out the price of it. And people were smart enough, because a lot of us were going on the air. I've done it, and other people have done it, and gone on the air and told people, just ignore it. So that's what people were doing. So through nonviolent, non-cooperation, they were not making the money from the tickets to then pay for their lease. So at least temporarily, the program is going to be stopped.
All right. And earlier you mentioned that you know of two specific questions that you could ask that would most likely get a police officer impeached. Would you mind sharing what those questions are?
I'm happy to. And this is in one of the videos also. Courts, just a little background so you understand why we're asking this question, why it's so effective. Courts are limited to only hearing a case or a cause of action. It has to be a cause. And so a lot of traffic tickets are civil. And it really doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal, but a lot of them tend to be civil, and that's where most people are going to have it, speeding tickets or no driver's license or rolling past the stop, whatever it happens to be. So I'll just use the civil one because it's more common. And you ask the police officer, did you file a valid cause of action against me? Now, they're going to let him answer this, because if he says no, the judge is going to be a little upset and you just throw it out. So they let him answer this. So it's very. So the next question is the only one you need, and we've had many cross-examinations stop with two questions. Let me tell you, it's pretty easy to show you a denied cross with when you only had two questions. Only one was answered. So the follow-up question to did you file a valid cause of action is how many elements are in a valid cause of action. Now, that's going to cause the judge to just flip out usually. Now, he's going to get upset, let's say that. And he's going to, in his zeal to take what he thinks is your money out of your pocket, he's going to say the witness is not competent to testify. Or that calls for legal conclusion, the witness is not here to do that. Well, the first question required a legal conclusion because he said, I followed a valid cause of action. And so he's impeached as a witness. It just means that his testimony has to be stricken. The judge cannot consider him as a credible witness. It doesn't mean that it always gets thrown out. It would be nice if it did, because almost 100% of the time, at least for me, we've gotten the judge to say it was incompetent. Such a nice, clean, easy way. No need to get into the merits or anything like that. You could ask just one, there was some time, we could just ask one question, and it's usually enough. We had recently someone called, and, two other questions. We'll give you a setup. You ask if the Constitution governs the proceedings. And they usually, and they said yes. And then she was looking, she had the ticket, she said, well, does this ticket conform to the Constitution? And the judge flipped out. He went berserk. Such another way, very few questions that you need to ask, and what you're doing is you're just gutting the pretense of legitimacy. I mean, it's really all you're doing. When you ask how many elements are in a valid cause of action, it's not going to help them in any way if the cop can answer. So let's say you're there for no seatbelt, and he says, oh, well, suppose 3. Well, if he says 3, then you just ask him what they are. So each time, he's got his shovel, and each question he answers, he's digging a little bit deeper. So you ask him, well, what are they? And then if he knows, he says, oh, well, that's injury, damage, and redressability. Where are those 3 elements in the ticket? They're not.
An injury would basically mean that there was proof that there was a legal right that had been damaged, correct?
Violated, yeah.
Okay.
So what you have is you have a corresponding, there's a reciprocal, sort of like with a citizen, duty to protect and duty allegiance, which doesn't exist, that they're reciprocal. You have, rights are typically not unilateral, they call it. There's always a corresponding legal duty. So let's say between us, I have a right to life, liberty, let's say a right to life. You have a corresponding legal duty not to take my life. So it's the violation of legal right, you're absolutely correct. It's also the breach of a known legal duty.
Okay. And I know that on your website, you've also got available for people to get a list of I think it's 4 pages full of questions to basically ask if you get the opportunity. Where can people go to find some more information about you and more information about what you're doing?
Well, it's marcstevens.net. That's M-A-R-C, Stevens with a V, marcstevens.net. And actually the script is about 14 pages.
14 pages,
But it's
wow.
not, it's like I tell everyone who buys it when we do the show, the No Stay Project, you're learning a process. I don't want you to just take a script and read it verbatim in court. There's 13 more pages than you need. But you're learning a certain process. So when you're going in, you're questioning, if you're in a tax assessment and you want to show that there's no evidence, it gives you a roadmap to get there. How do I get you, my witness, to admit that there's no evidence? How do I get you to admit that you're not qualified? And so it gives you the process. Not that it gives you, in every instance the questions to ask, because there are infinite instances and you only need to focus on a few anyway. But it gives you the process no matter what it happens to be. So people who have read the script will not typically say to me, wow, these questions work really good for income taxes. What about property tax? Because you'll understand the process that it's all the same thing. And so you figure out, this is my goal, this is where I want to go, and this is where I am. How do I get there? Boom, this is how you do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate you giving us this time. One more time, it's marcstevens.net, and that's with a C, M-A-R-C. All right, everybody checking out this video, go to marcstevens.net, get some more information. I really appreciate it. We're coming live from the Axiom Conference in Utah 2010, and I had the wonderful Marc Stevens. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.